Today I want to talk about my favorite of the Geralt cards, and this might come as a surprise, but it's Geralt Axii. So he's a 10 provision neutral, 5 power, 2 armor, and he is a Witcher, and he's got deploy, purify a unit, and reset its power. So Geralt Axii is kind of the ultimate flexible card, right? You can purify an enemy unit that has, say, Veil or something. You can purify an enemy unit, or defender more likely, right? And you can purify the unit to get rid of that status and reset it. So if it's the Nilfgaard defender, for example, you can get rid of the boost. If it's the cave troll and they put the carapace leader ability on it, you get to reduce that power. So you can do that for the purify, but the reset's really where it's interesting. And you can obviously reset something like a Witch Apprentice that got really big, like a Gurnikora, like a Herald Gord. So reset is potentially very powerful, as are all the reset cards, and it comes with the purify, so you have the flexibility of which one you want to use it for. Maybe you have to get rid of that defender right now, and you can purify it. Maybe you hold on to the reset. And where it's even more flexible, and this is why I like it so much, because it's so flexible, is you can use it to your own units too. So if they lock your key card, say they use Collar and Imprisonment Leader charge on it, say you play, I don't know what you played, some card that you need to go off, let's say Damien. Let's just say you played a Damien and they collared it, or they used the Nilfgaard leader. You can remove that lock and reset its power. So you could use it for a combination there. If you really need to purify a card, you can do it. If you need to reset a card, you can do it. So say you're running Melusine, and this is a good example actually. Say you're running a self-wound deck, you can use this card in the deck. You can use it to purify something. You can use it to reset your Melusine or something like that. And you can use it to purify an opponent's card and reset an opponent's card. So it has a ton of flexibility, but you don't see it played. I feel like I'm the only one who ever uses this card. And let's talk about why for a second here. So if we look at the Purify cards, I think this will kind of show some light here. If we look at the Purify cards, the most common one by far is going to be your Pellar. So 4 for 4 with Purify. So basically, Purify is worth like 2 or 3 points here, is what we're calling it. And it's flexible, right? Because you can purify your units or the opponent's units. Say it's worth about 3 points, say 7 for 4 is what you'd want here. It's worth about 2 to 3 points for this Purify on this card. And you've got your other Purifies, right? The other ones you most commonly see are going to be something like in Syndicate, you have Kurt, and Madoc decks, which aren't very common right now, you get Moondust, and you've got Grimmist, and obviously some of these Purify cards here. But usually if you see Purify, it's going to be coming from Pellar. So that's one thing. And then we talk about the reset. If you look at the other reset cards, we'll kind of see the theme here is that you've got your Spores, which sometimes sees play as a tech card. I like that as a tech card. Your Artifact Compression, sometimes you see reset the power of a unit and lock it. It's kind of the opposite of Axii here. You reset the power and purify as opposed to reset the power and lock. Artifact Compression you see a lot of times to deal with big engine cards, maybe like a Sigvald or something. Then you've got the Peter, which you don't see very much, and Mandrake you use for combos. And then you've got Geralt Axii, and you've got Bloody Baron. Those are your reset power cards. So if we take a look here, the ones we do see, Spores and Artifact Compression, are a lot lower provisions here. And Spores obviously is a card. It's very flexible, because you can get a ton of value for these 4 provisions, right? If you reset, say, like a Tactical Advantage or something, you can reset 5 or 6 points pretty commonly with this. But if you can reset a Ring of Favor, you can reset a Herald Gord, it becomes incredibly valuable for such a small provision inclusion, which is why it's really nice. And Artifact Compression is pretty close. Axii, on the other hand, as we get back to him, he's 10 provisions, so it is a big commitment. And even though he does have that flexibility of purifying and resetting a unit, it has to be worth 10 provisions, which I think is why people don't run him very much. So the question is, how much you value flexibility over raw power, right? Because we could have Axii, or we could have Igni. Igni is also 10 provisions. Let's type in Geralt real quick here. Like, Igni is also 10 provisions. So is regular Geralt, and so is Ard. Ard being another interesting card we're not going to talk about right now. But if you look at these two, so Geralt Rivia destroys something with 9 or more power. Objectively, that's just better than resetting it if it's really tall. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're going to destroy a tall unit, like reset a tall unit that has a lot of boosts, Geralt's better for that. Geralt of Rivia should be more specific here. If you're trying to purify something, Pellar's going to be better. So bronze, it only takes up 4 provisions. If you just want to reset, Spores is better because it's 4 precisions. And you can slot it in as a tech card. So the only time... And then Igni is if you want your big finisher combo type of thing. And then there's also Yrden, right? If you just want the reset, Yrden resets the entire row. So Axii is just kind of a combination of a bunch of different effects into a package which offers flexibility and slightly higher base power. And that flexibility, in most cases, is now just not quite worth how much power you give up for it, right? Like, why would you run Axii for a reset if you could run Yrden for 1 provision more? Sure, he's got like a little bit higher base power than just 1 provision, but resetting a whole row is incredibly strong. If you want a bigger finisher, go with Igni. And I just think that Axii's flexibility, well, at one point worth it, because I used to run Axii in quite a few decks, he's been power crept, basically. So his flexibility is no longer worth the trade-off in power he gives you, which is unfortunate, because I really like this card, and I like flexible stuff. So what do we do with Axii? How would I like to see him changed? Well, really, there's a couple of options here. But it's kind of hard to keep them with the theme of the Axii here. So Axii is almost like Mandrake. And if Axii was like Mandrake, he would definitely see more play, I think. Where it was a full reset. I don't know if that's good for the game, though, so I'm not going to propose we do that. But I would like to see something done to Axii. Because if we look at his ability, it comes with it's basically one thing, right? We change a unit back to its base power, and we purify it. So how do we make him good with that effect? Well, there's a very simple choice here. We could just lower his provisions. Now, as a tech card, a flexible tech card, which is what he really is, you usually don't want to have those be high provision cards. Right? You're putting a tech card into your deck, it's usually because you've got 4 or 5 provisions left, and you're like, hey, I can throw this in. Geralt actually really doesn't fit in that, so he needs to have some very strong synergies, or have to have very compelling power to fit in that spot. So I think we could either differentiate him more from something like Yrden by lowering his provision cost. So now that Erendite Golden Necker is not a thing, it doesn't feel blasphemous to say to make something 9 provisions. But we could make him down to like 9 provisions or something, make him a little easier to fit in, since he is supposed to be more of a flexible card. The other option here is you give him a little bit more on his ability, or you increase his base power so he comes down a little bit higher. As it is, he's 3 points higher than Yrden on base power, and then he resets only 1 unit. So if you want to have Axii as a tech card, you could have him justify that if he had a higher base power. So say he had like, just as an example, like 7 provisions. Now we're talking about some significant differences between him and Pellar and stuff. Because he gives you that purify with significantly higher tempo. He gives you that reset with significantly higher tempo. Would it be too strong? Well, if we look at Bloody Baron has the reset, and he comes down with formation, so he has Zeal. It's essentially very similar to having deploy if you have Zeal Order, but better because you can hold off on it. So Bloody Baron's a 6. So I'm pretty sure we could give Geralt Axii 1 or 2 more power, and he would be more compelling. Although he is objectively stronger because he does have that purify and that flexibility coming with him. Bloody Baron, a card, also I think could possibly see a little help here. It's been a while since I've seen him. He doesn't make the cut anymore. But yeah, I think Axii could either get an increase in base power or a decreased provision cost. As a neutral card, it's very hard to find spot into decks unless you're really good. And Axii used to be good enough for me to run as a neutral card. Nowadays, it's kind of sad he's just sitting here doing his thing. And even though I was the biggest Axii proponent for a while, and I kept running him and stuff, no one else was, I don't play him anymore. So I'd like to see him have either a decreased provision cost or increase in base power. Increase in base power I think would be more interesting, just because it separates him more from the other tech cards that do resets and such. And I think a Geralt card kind of deserves that. What do you guys think? What did I miss about Axii? Do you guys actually run Axii? If you tell me you do, I'll believe you, but I don't know, man. I just really like this card. And yeah, just let me know if I missed anything, what cards you want to see next. How do you guys use them? Do you even have them? And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.